In this video, I'm going to run through the process of collecting, cutting, and then polishing something called Dendritic Opalite. This is what it looks like when you find it in the rough. This was collected at a place called Norseman in Western Australia, just out of Norseman. There's a lot of it there. Very easy to find. This is what it looks like when it's been polished. Now it's called opalite. It's basically a common opal. So it is opal, but it doesn't have the flash that the precious opal does. But still, it's very nice. And while I've got you, if you like my videos, I'd appreciate a click on the like and also subscribes. If you feel you'd like to see more of my videos, then I could do with the encouragement. Thank you very much. Hey, g'day. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Here I am, looking for what we call Dendritic Opalite. Some people don't like us using the term opalite anymore because it's a synthetic, a man-made opal. They've used it as a trade name. So it tends to get called Dendritic Opal or moss opal. It's difficult sometimes to know what to take and what to leave. I like this where it goes blue yellow. Nice. Oh, it's a nice bit of red coming through that one. I might take him just to see what happens. A bit small, maybe a bit brittle too. It's some more green. Take them both. That looks nice. Hopefully it's solid. Haven't got much bluish tones yet. That looks nice. What's that one? He's nice. I like it. It's been about 3 months since I collected that opalite. I figured it was about time I cut and polished some of it, so I've gone through and picked out a few choice pieces. They'll be cut on the tile saw, then pre-shaped on the tile saw, and then tumbled for the first stage in rotary tumblers, and then finished off the last 3 stages in my vibratory tumbler. So here is the Dendritic Opalite, cut and shaped, ready to go into the rotary tumblers. So as always, I'll start grabbing handfuls, chucking them in. They're all fairly big lumps, so I'm going to have to use some of this. This is pieces of mookaite to go in between all the bigger pieces and help to smooth them. Again, that's all pretty standard stuff. So I'm hoping to get the 4 3-pound barrels and the 2 6-pound barrels full, but we'll see. We'll soon find out. So yeah, these barrels, well, all barrels are full about 2/3 usually. I tend to fill them about 2/3 with the original rocks I'm tumbling, and then they get topped up with the smaller pieces, which might bring them a bit above 2/3, but they settle down after tumbling for a while to about 2/3. So let's start loading up these bigger barrels. Looks like we're going to be just a little bit short of filling up this barrel, but what I do have is some pieces of mookaite that didn't get finished in the last lot. So I think some of these, mookaite and Dendritic Opalite, are very similar sort of, well, they're similar rocks, similar hardness, the way they fracture and stuff is all very similar, so they're fine going in together. So yeah, I might actually chuck some of them in there as well. Might be able to do all of these. Let's see. This one's majority of mookaite. Let's see what happens. Yeah, more. There's a big one here, I don't know. Yeah, I might chuck them in, see what happens with him. Yeah, I think we've got just about perfect here. He could use a few more and he'll have the rest. That's good. They've been sitting around for about a month, these ones, waiting to find a home. They have been tumbled once, but I just wasn't happy with the results, so I wanted to tumble them again, and the perfect opportunity. So I'm going to swap hands because I cut myself the other day. Mookaite can be very sharp. And here I go, putting my hands in mookaite chips. What an idiot. Yes, so let's chuck some of these in. These are the filler pieces, so they go in between the larger pieces as they tumble, so that the grit can get into all the little nooks and crannies in between the bigger rocks. Maybe a bit more in that one. And then each of the small ones get about a handful as well, maybe a bit less than a handful. You can see it's taken it up a fair bit, but what happens, let's see, once they get shaken down, they end up being about 2/3, so that's good. All right, continue on. He can have some, you can have some. Another handful. That's probably about right, I think. I cut my other finger. No. Yeah, mookaite, the way it fractures, it's called conchoidal fracturing. You end up with some really sharp pieces. When I collect it, I usually wear gloves just because it is so sharp. And you need to take good supply of Band-Aids with you when you collect. So each of these now get some of this grit. I'm using 46 only because I cannot get 80 grit, which is what you'd normally use. I think it's 80, something like that. Yeah, so each of these small barrels gets 3 tablespoons. That's a tablespoon. Each of the small barrels gets 3 tablespoons. That's 2 and 3. It's him and him. Feel free to fast forward this bit. They'll get the same, except the bigger ones, which I'm about to do in a minute. Okay, so these bigger barrels, I put about 5 in. You probably should be putting 6 in, but I find 5's plenty. This stuff isn't cheap. The 46 is cheap compared to some of the others, but, you know, it all adds up. I've forgotten what I was up to now. I think that's 3, 4, 5. So, yeah, the grits and the polish is what really costs money in this hobby. 1, and the rocks, I guess, if you're buying them. 2, actually, even if you're finding them yourself, the cost involved in going and getting them, pretty phenomenal. Petrol, food, that sort of stuff. It's 4, and this is 5. So they're all gritted up now. What's next? Water. So water, you add just enough so that it's just below the surface of the rocks. So you can just see it coming up. You can see them there, that's the water. So that's good. You do more like that. Bit more. I don't know about that big pork chop one there. Oh, he's been through a few times and just keeps coming out still rugged. We'll see. Might be time to send him through the second stage. We'll see. Again, these ones, till the water's just below the level of the top rocks. Good. Good. Maybe a bit too much. Good. It's not an exact science. They always end up ground down to some extent. And, you know, even though this one might have a bit too much water, actually has. No, it can stay. It really doesn't make a lot of difference. You'd preferably just want a bit less than that, but no, that's good enough. We put these rubber lids on now. Yep. Oh, he didn't go on. Small one. This one's become a bit misshapen. Come on. Must have been sitting on its side for a while. I don't know. To make sure his lid goes down properly, the metal lid. But that feels right now. The big ones. One there. Good. Now the metal parts. I'll thump these down in a second. Get them all on first. And the big ones. I really need to sort out some sort of system where I'm not holding the camera with one hand while I'm doing everything. Problem with that is I never really know what I'm filming. At least this way I can have a look and see that, yeah, I'm getting roughly what I want. Each of them gets a little aluminium washer. Oh, a little, they're quite big actually. Each of them gets a big aluminium washer. And then each one gets a nut screwed on. I usually do them up tight enough so that the bowl is just about spinning. So yeah, you do it up, tighten him up. And then you can feel just when it reaches that point that the bowl starts to spin, I know that that's plenty tight enough. Nearly there. Big one down. Upside down. All right, now the next stage I'm not ready for. I need to turn on the tumblers. He's under there. I'll just turn the camera off for a sec while I do that. Well, good news. It's been a week and both 33As are still tumbling away. This was the one that had the motor replacement. He seems happy still. This one's still going, as is the QT66. So let's empty them out and see what we've got. So here are our little smaller bowls ready to be emptied. Barrels, sorry. quick rinse and see how they look. Nice and colourful. And now for the big barrels. Splat. And a bit of a rinse. Now this was the one that had mookaite in as well. That's mookaite. As is that one. Actually, I think he's probably ready to go on. This is about the 5th time he's been through stage 1, the lamb chop, and I think he's ready to go on. I'm very happy with the Dendritic Opalite. I've rounded off nicely. That's the good thing about pre-shaping. This one's a bit wonky, but he'll go through. Yeah, the good thing about pre-shaping, takes at least a week, I reckon, off the stage 1. That is if you want nice rounded rocks like I do. Some people prefer more, I don't know, what would you call it, jagged, I guess natural shapes. But no, I like more rounded, much more tactile. It's nicer to hold when they're rounded, totally smooth. So yes, these will get another rinse, and then they'll get rinsed with fresh water and then put into stage 2 in the UV10. No. So I've rinsed off with fresh water the majority of those rocks. Some of them was too much for the bowl. I'll put in here. They'll get done another time. That's mainly all the mookaite in here, and this is pretty much all of the Dendritic Opalite. So yeah, now we have to drain the excess water off. And then they will now get some stage 2 grit added and tumble for 2 days. Right, we're about to add the stage 2 grit to the opalite. This is what we'll be using, 220 grit. You can see here, if we were using a rotary tumbler, which we're not, it would use a lot more per kilo than if we're using a vibe, which is what we're doing. So what is that? About a third, no, even less. A sixth, something like that, because we're using a vibe tumbler, saving time and money. Time because using the vibe, the last 3 stages take only 6 days, so 2 days per stage. If we were using a rotary tumbler, we're looking at a week for each stage, so it'd be another 3 weeks. And yeah, I'm not that patient. So yeah, we'll add maybe 2 and a bit, we'll go for 3 tablespoons in here. And then he now goes on top of this. Excuse me while I use both hands. That goes on there. He then gets a washer and a wing nut. Excuse the noise from the QT66. It's just rocks tumbling as far as I know. The noise of the tumbler seems to have stopped whenever I put a load of barrels on. Right, so I'm going to turn this on and then we'll know what noise is. So I won't talk much as I turn this on. Then I will throw the lid on and it'll go for 2 days. So here it goes. See you in 2 days. The Ultravibe 10 has been running now for 2 days and it's time to change the grit. First thing to do is to put some water in, give them a rinse. Looking good. So they run for 15 minutes, half an hour, just to loosen the grit off the rocks, and then they'll get a freshwater rinse, and then back in here for stage 3. Time to switch this fella off, empty out this barrel, and wash off the slurry. Oh boy, this takes forever. Now, can I do this with one hand? I don't think so. Yeah. Oh, I can't even do it with 2 hands. Oh man, that's heavy. This is a big load of rocks. It's probably too much. I've never actually read up on how much I should put in. But it keeps producing nice polished rocks no matter what I do, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it, eh? Give these a quick rinse, but then a proper rinse in a minute. All will look to be what I expect. Looking good. Nice mix of colours here, yellows, greens, whites, these almost blue ones. So just like after stage 1, each rock gets a scrub with the toothbrush under running fresh water and then put into the bowl ready to go into stage 3. I've just realised I may have done things arse about with stage 2. What I would normally do is put the rocks in the bowl, tighten the washer down, then get the grit and add it to the bowl while it's on. I may have done, I've checked the video, I may have added the grit when the bowl was on the bench and then put it up here and then turn it on. I guess it doesn't make that much difference, but it just seems to circulate the grit better when it's already on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be using, this is stage 3, 600 grit, probably about 2.5, 3 tablespoons again. And I'm about to turn on this guy, so I won't bother talking over the top of it. Here we go. Oh, I've left his lid in the other room. Ha! Back in a minute. One lid. Washer goes on. Clamp that down. Now, normally there's another wing nut goes down there, but man, I got sick of tightening and untightening that, so this does a better job anyway. Quick and easy. So yes, we'll come back in 2 days, starting the final polish. So here we are again, another 2 days. Another emptying over the barrel, and then we're going to stage 4, the polishing stage. If there's one complaint I have with the UV10, it's the plastic that they make these bowls out of. You can see on the surface here, that's bits of plastic that have worn off through, the rocks vibrating against it. And what happens sometimes if you're doing slightly sort of more porous rocks is that these little bits of plastic get ingrained in the pores of the rocks. Usually in the last stage you'll notice it. So yeah, my only complaint about the UV10 is this plastic. There might not be any other options, I don't know. I know that the one that I 3D printed, that one there, it doesn't give off any plastic, but then it's a totally different sort of plastic, I don't know. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's tip this out. And then rinse them out and get them ready for the final stage. That's a lot of rocks. They're feeling nice and smooth now. I'm very happy with how these are progressing. But of course you never really know until after stage 4. So in 2 more days we'll have a verdict on how they've turned out. Alright, I won't show rinsing these. It's exactly the same as stage 1 and 2. So yeah, next thing I'll be putting them back into the tumbler with some polish. As always, the final stage is going to be the 1 micron aluminium oxide, or if you're American, aluminum oxide. Probably about 2 and a bit tablespoons full. Are they tablespoons? Yeah, they're tablespoons. I found that lately I've been using less of the polish and getting better results, so maybe it's a matter of less is more. We'll see. I'll put probably 2.5, maybe 2.25 tablespoons in. See how it turns out. Start her up. I haven't said anything, but I come and check back on these drums, well, every morning and then every night before I go to bed, just to make sure that they're not drying out. This time of year, coming up to our winter, it's not a problem, but in summer, they can dry out in a few hours, and you got to put a bit more water in them to keep them flowing. But yeah, this time of year, really not an issue. It's been a little over 2 days. It's time to take the rocks out of final polish. We'll give them a quick rinse, then they'll go back in for a borax rinse, and then possibly an ultrasonic clean. I'll turn the camera off while I lift this with 2 hands. It's right on the limit of what I can fit in there, I reckon. Alright, so I'll give these a quick rinse in fresh water, and they'll go back in here once I've rinsed that out with water and a few tablespoons of borax. Borax just seems, we have pretty hard water up here and it tends to leave a film on the rocks, so the borax just gets rid of that. And then some of these might need an ultrasonic clean. You can see that polish is caught in a few fractures and cracks and stuff. That always happens. So yeah, the ultrasonic cleaner will get that out. All the rocks have been rinsed in fresh water, and we'll now get probably about an hour, maybe 2 in borax. So I'll turn the machine on and then add the borax. This is it. Borax. I'm trying to get the equivalent of 2 tablespoons, but it's like rock hard down there. I think that's probably about right now. But yeah, that will now spin around like that, or tumble around like that in borax for an hour or 2. Then we'll have a final rinse, and they may need a ultrasonic clean, so we'll see. Alright, they have been rinsing now for about 3 hours all up. And if everything has gone to plan, if we've done everything correctly, we should have some nice shiny rocks. Although they may need a bit of time in the ultrasonic cleaner, we'll soon see. Well, it looks like we did everything correct. I've ended up with a lot of nice shiny rocks. But I will still throw them in the ultrasonic cleaners, just because there's little areas like those there, bits of polish caught up in tiny little areas that will come out in the ultrasonic cleaner. So let's do that. Alright, now this can really interfere with the sound. Let's just see what happens. It's not too bad, but I think this one can really upset things. Come on. Ah, not even on yet. Idiot. What's that there? So here we have the completed batch of Dendritic Opalite.